if you want to get an API call out there and get a response, you need to use some specific calls, and there's no tutorial out there I could find, so I decided to create my own one with Insomnia and Node-RED. So let's start. I guess you all know what an API is, so an application programming interface which you can use to get data or to push data to somebody. We will focus on getting data, receiving data, so we want to grab some data, usually from a supplier like this one here, Open Weather Maps, which offers some APIs, some needs a license you have to pay for, some are free of charge, like this one here, which is free. And let's take a look into this one. And there is a call description. So how do you call the API to get the data you are looking for? And there's usually an address like this one here. And you see already a question mark. And the question mark is necessary to separate it from the parameters. And the parameters, there are two parameters which are required here and some optional. They are usually with the AND symbol separated so that you can send several parameters at once. I did prepare this as a call. You can see this now because it's my own AP token. I don't want to share this, but you see you can open this with a browser and you get a direct response from Open Weather Maps with all the data, which doesn't look so nice, honestly. And you can do the same with the command line. You use the curl option for that. I will hide the token again, but you can see the remaining call. And also using this will give us the answer, the return, which is a lot of data in a JSON format, which doesn't look nice on a command shell. So let's use a tool for that. And we are using Insomnia and later on Node-RED to do the same call. And we need a latitude and a longitude. And for latitude and longitude, you can simply use Google Maps, select any position and just copy latitude and longitude directly from your map. I take something now in Berlin just to have something for Insomnia. So Insomnia is a tool which is now installed already on my PC, which you can use to grab specific data from APIs. Usually REST-based, but also other protocols are supported. And yeah, we create a new project and a new request collection. There are some environments you can use, but we do this later on. Now we will just simply create a new request. This request needs an address, of course, and you can do this later on with variables, but now we just copy the address from Open Weather Maps directly into the get command. You can switch to different commands, push and so on, but we will focus on get because we just want to grab data. And now you can use the query area to put in the mandatory fields, which was latitude, longitude, and the app ID, which is the token or also called API key. I will copy latitude and longitude for you, and I will take my own app ID, which I will hide because it's my private one. But you can see already now in the URL preview that the call is based out of the address plus the parameters, and you see that Insomnia automatically is creating the question mark and also the AND symbols for different parameters. I added the app key now, and you can see I get a response. If you are not adding any app key, or API key, you will get the response that this is missing. So you get some error description if something is wrong. I will remove this now so we can take a further look. What you can do here is you can untick the different options. So if you have optional options, you can untick or tick them just to use them if you need them. There's also a header here available, and there are some APIs which want, for example, the app ID, the token, they want to have this in the header, not in the query itself. Some some APIs also support a body, which could be a JSON body, which you can enter here as a normal JSON format, but it depends on the API if it is supporting that or not. Now let's take a look into the environments of Insomnia. That's very nice if you have, for example, a production environment and a test environment. You can simply switch between them. And you can use variables, which makes life easy, especially when you have several different environments and you use the same commands. As an example, I will just define latitude now, or longitude, which you simply can do by creating a JSON, kind of a JSON format, defining a variable. And you can also do it on every location here, on any location, like on the address location, but we now did it for the longitude. You need the underscore, but you first need to select an environment. I did this now, and now I get an automatic pop-up which offers all variables. It's just one now, and I can select this. And you see already again in the preview that my longitude is already there, and the variable is working. I can do this for all, of course, the items, and that's very nice because it makes life easier and more flexible. But now let's take a look into Node-RED, because with Node-RED we can not only grab the data, we can afterwards work with some data. For Node-RED, let's do this with a different API, which is called CO2 Signal. It's from Electricity Map. This API offers the carbon footprint of a country. And also here we have different commands, different addresses. I will use the get latest by country code. And also here you see that there is the API call described already with the address. And in this case, you see that there's a -h and the auth token. Here it's called auth token. And this means that this must be in the header and not, it's not part of the parameters like country code, which is a normal question mark, country code, and so on. But this one is a header option. For Insomnia, we saw this. It's the simple different command where you can define the header commands. But for Node-RED, funny enough, this will work differently. Let's take a look. First of all, we create an inject node and we need the HTTP request node. And of course, we need a debug node to see the data we did receive. I will connect this and I will now define the HTTP request node by saying this is a get method again. So we are just doing get methods today. And I will copy the address from the CO2 signal page. Now it's including the country code. I will remove this country code here because we just want to have the URL, the address, and that's it. And we will send the details via the payload. To send this or to use the payload, you have to define the payload definition below. Now it's set to ignore. I'm sorry, it's set to German, but it says ignore. And we will switch this to use the query string parameter. You can also send it as a request body if, then it's usually a JSON request body or whatever is defined in your inject node. But this API doesn't support this, so we use the string parameter. This is like creating your own call with the question mark and so on. You need to, of course, define the content in the inject node. We take a JSON inject node and just open the JSON editor, create a JSON object, and now we simply define two items on the top level. The country code, I select DE for Germany, which is Deutschland, so DE in this case. And when you have a second one, you need a comma, and you put the auth code in, or the auth token is the correct term. It must be the right term, of course, because that's what it's looking for. And I will copy this in, and we have all the options we need. We can deploy and send. and start the inject node, and we get a response. So that's a little bit funny that there's no specific header necessary in this case. For Insomnia, I will show you that this is necessary, but that's a nice way, using the inject node and having your JSON object to get the parameters in, instead of having everything in your HTTP request, which makes it more complicated to use, for example, different parameters. Now you can use also variables and Java code to get some specific requests. In Insomnia, as mentioned, for this specific example, I prepared this already with variables. You can see this longitude, latitude, and so on. And you can see that the auth code or auth token is not part of the query because it's part of the header. And in the header, I defined the auth token like in the query area, but now in the header area. And it's really funny that here it's necessary that this is in the query area, or that the auth token is in the header area, not in the query area, because it's not working otherwise. So you need to be aware of if it's necessary, or if it's necessary to send this as a body, then you can here define this as a JSON body, or here in Node-RED you can define this also as a request body. So a lot of options, but you can see how the basic principle is. It's really, really easy if you once know how to find the right structure for the specific API. And with all these options, Insomnia you can really use to test everything, and Node-RED for also using data later on. I hope this helps, and see you later.